Hi, I'm Amanda Shekarchi, and I am joined by Ella Forrest, who is from Saskatchewan but is currently speaking with me from Kitchener, Ontario. Her music combines funk, jazz, and R&B, and Ella's latest project is Retrograde, and she is also known for the record Butterflies, which received Album of the Year at the Sask Music Awards in 2025. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Amanda. I'm excited.
Yeah, so I want to start with this. What was it like growing up in the Saskatchewan music scene?
The Sask music scene is just such a tight-knit community, and that's something that as soon as I kind of started to break out in there, I realized everyone has your back, whether that be the people showing up for the shows, whether that be, people asking for like advice. It's like everyone is just there to support each other and to build up the Sask artists. And so I think that there's a very strong sense of community, that's for sure.
That's so beautiful. And I want to talk about this because I read that an influential album for you growing up was Bruno Mars's 24 Karat Magic. Why?
Well, I think that it was around the time when I was grade 8 where I kind of started to grow into what I now realize is just the music that I just love. Like when you kind of start to, stop just listening to what you might just hear on the radio. Now that project was on the radio, but kind of learning how to dive into what you specifically really like and really makes your brain tick. And I remember listening to that project on the walk to school all the time. And I was just like, there's something about this that I just like love and I'm obsessed with. And, in hindsight now, I can completely see why, because this is the type of music that I have continued to be drawn towards for, since then. And I'm sure I will continue to be. There's something about his the structure of his music, the instrumentation, the energy to it, the soulfulness that I just love, and it's still one of my favorite albums of all time.
Oh, I totally agree. Like, I saw him live, and it's such an incredible experience. He brings so much energy to everything he does.
Yes, so much passion, and yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so who are some of your other music influences?
I would say one that I talk about sometimes is Corinne Bailey Rae. She was also another one kind of within that time where I think I heard put your records on like a YouTube cover in like grade 7 or something. And then I kind of went down a little bit of a YouTube rabbit hole with her music and realized, you know, here is like a female vocalist who just, there's something about her voice that I was just so drawn toward, the way I think she was probably for me one of the first representations of like female vocals that I just thought were like the most incredible thing that I've ever heard. And like that blend of like jazz influence in her music, but also like R&B and soul. And yeah, so I would say that she's a really big inspiration for me as well.
So when you perform live, you're usually with Ella Forrest and the Great Pines. What was that like forming the band?
Me and a lot of those guys, we met in a high school and elementary school jazz band. So I've known them for just like a long time. And they had their own band in like out of university and in high school, and they had kind of known that I was posting music and writing music on like SoundCloud and stuff, and they were like, "Hey, like we'd love to, try some of your songs with the group." And we did, and I played a few of them at one of their shows, and then they were like, "Okay, we should make this like a separate thing." And so that's how Ella Forest and the Great Pines came to be. It's essentially the same guys as in their band, Jake and the Kid, but then just my music with my name. And so I'm just really grateful for the friends that I had believe in me and my music, because I never would have really thought that that would be possible without them. So
I also want to talk about, you got to perform live with them recently at The Cure in Saskatchewan. What do you enjoy most about playing live?
ooh, that's a good question. I think just the energy. There's just something exciting about being able to feel the like energy in the room, the excitement of the crowd, being able to, you know, you just feel so in tune, I think, with the other musicians in a way that you can only really get live. And something that I realize is kind of a new appreciation that I have for playing live is, it's kind of like an uncertain time right now for like what is AI going to do to like art, right? And that's something that like performing will always just have this like authentic, like human aspect and element to it. And, we're all just here enjoying this moment together. I think it's that like shared sense of like we're in this together, whether that be, the musicians on the stage, but then also the audience. It's like we're all just collectively sharing in this space.
I love that. And then you brought up a good point, music and AI. Like, what are your thoughts of AI on AI when it comes to music? 'Cause I still feel like we still need the human touch.
Oh, I completely agree. I think it is scary, but it just shows again just the importance of building that community, that interpersonal community, through music, because that is going to continue to be that's my favorite part about music is the creation aspect and working with people and performing for people. It's that like human centeredness to it. So I think that we just need to like continue to realize that that's fundamentally what is so awesome about music.
Totally agree. Now, talking about creativity, let's talk about the EP Retrograde. What is the concept behind it?
Creating it, I wanted to have like a specific feeling to it. Some projects are more based maybe around like the story, maybe based more around like the lyrics, but for me, I wanted a sound. And we kind of wanted to be able to express different aspects of the sound. So like I would say that there's quite a variety in terms of like the genres on the tracks in the project, or like exploring kind of different avenues of things that we really like. And so that was really the main thing I wanted to get across. I was like, I want this to sound a certain way. And then the story and like the visuals kind of came in after to like create more of a comprehensive scope. But yeah, I would say the sound is really what we focus.
I love it, especially talking about like the transition between you have the Ghost intro and then going into Ghost. I feel like that's such a cool little setup there, the way that those kind of flow together so seamlessly.
Thank you. I'm glad that you like that. We are really Ghost is one of my favorite tracks to create for sure. I think it's one of my favorite tracks that I've ever written. It's a real fun one, and that one is very fun to perform live also.
Oh, I'm sure. And how would you describe the process of arranging the songs with your band?
It depends on the song. There's some of our earlier songs were ones that I'd already had created, so I kind of wrote them on my own, just acoustically brought them to the band, and they're like, okay, like how do we build this? And it's just kind of everyone sharing their ideas. For this project, for a lot of them, I had again more of like an idea of what the sound that I wanted, to come out of the project. So like me and the bass player Jake, we sat together and we're like, hey, this is what we want it to sound like. Like, how do we build this? So a lot of the ones on this project, like Lights Out, like Ghosts, they were really written with vocals and bass as kind of a foundation, which is interesting. And then Waiting for Love, he brought that one forward, and then we, used the bare bones of kind of this chordal structure that he made. We started jamming on it in rehearsal, and then I just started singing and riffing over it, and then came up with the lyrics and the melody, and that's how that one was born. C was one that I wrote a few years ago myself in like a very emotional kind of headspace, and we've never played that one live before actually, because it just kind of has like a very unique sound that is more tailored, I think, to like a produced kind of environment. It's just very different from the rest of the songs, but it was really important to me that we get that like hard hitting, like slow R&B rich feel to it. And so that one was mostly kind of workshopped in the studio, and also with a good friend of mine, Ben. He kind of he's a producer, and so when we first were workshopping the song, moving it from, me singing it on keys to like, now we're gonna like actually build this song. He was really instrumental in helping us come up with like ideas for what to include, and we included some of those in the final track with Walt, such as like the intro. That was something that I had recorded at my friend's house, like probably like 7 or 8 months before we even started recording the track with Walt. So it's just fun to be able to like leave those little bits into of just people who've helped so much along the way.
That is really cool. Yeah, so you mentioned working with Walt Jeworski. What was that like?
He is awesome. Walt, I feel like if you know Walt, you know just how supportive of a person he is, how he's just so it just feels like such a safe space for creativity. And that's what you want when, you're, sharing this music, which is like a part of yourself and something that you've worked for. You want someone who will have your back and will you can trust with your ideas. And I feel that way completely with Walt. He was always so detail oriented, so passionate. He was so fun to just chat with in the studio, and I really enjoy, and I'm excited to work more with him in the future because now I would say he's a good friend of mine now. He's great.
Oh, I absolutely love that. He is the best, and I feel like he has such a great ear for this stuff, especially with like vocal first mixes, which I quite enjoy.
You are so right. He is so talented, and he pays such attention to that. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, well, a minute ago you talked about one of my favorite songs on the EP, which is C, and I really like this lyric. You got me crashing through the surface, gasping for air. What is the inspiration behind that line?
The whole song is about I was in this kind of tumultuous kind of situationship like many years ago, and it just kind of felt like I was being pulled back and forth. Like I never kind of knew what he wanted. One minute he'd be like into it, and then another minute it was just like a lot of mixed signals, and I kind of felt like it was like almost like I was drowning. Like I just kind of would come up and I wouldn't really know what I would get, and that ebb and flow was not in a good way. It was like in a this is feels like too much for me to emotionally deal with, and that's kind of the inspiration behind that.
Yeah, and what is the challenge writing a song so raw and personal like that?
I think the challenge is always just, I mean, and this is something, it could be a challenge for some, but I'm an open person, I would say. So it doesn't like embarrass me. But just like being able to admit, like, you know, mistakes that you've made through music, being able to admit that, yeah, I was in like not embarrassing. I was in uh, a vulnerable situation where, I wasn't being treated as well as I should have. And that's hard to admit. And like putting it into art, people will think what they think about it. But inevitably, the reason I don't feel embarrassed and I feel inspired by these situations is because like everything is a lesson to be learned. And we can learn so much through art and through music that it's like, it's all just part of being human. And I don't think inevitably it's most important to me that I get that message out there and I express my feelings because it just helps me work through it at the end of the day.
So I want to talk about Waiting for Love because I feel like that's like such a fun way to end the EP. Why did you choose that as the last song?
Ooh, good question. I thought, well, so I did mention how sound was kind of the core of the project, but when I was looking at, okay, how do we make this like thematically make sense? Uh, I was like, this project does feel like, and like lyrically, it's kind of an accumulation of the years in undergrad that I was like single and kind of trying to like figure out, what I want, like who I am, those like trenches, and Waiting for Love is a good cap to that because it's just kind of at the end of the day saying like, yeah, like amidst it all, like I'm still looking, and but in a more positive way where it's like making it almost feel lighthearted, like yeah, like all these these things happen, these relationships tried, failed, I've tried different 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 things in the last few years, but at the end of the day, like I'm still looking, and that's okay. It is what it is. Like we'll get there. And I just thought it was kind of like a fun, lighthearted way to kind of to end that aspect in that aspect of my life that the project represents for me too.
That is awesome. And what upcoming projects do you have going on that you want to share?
Well, currently because I am, away for school, there hasn't been much active writing happening, but we have a single that has already been recorded with Walt, that is in the process of being mixed and mastered now. It didn't fit with the theming of the project and like the sound, but it's such a great track that we still wanted to record it. So I would tease that there is a new single coming up shortly, probably some point in the spring or early summer.
Oh my God, exciting. Can't wait. And for those who want to know more about you and your music, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram. If you, I think it's underscore Ella Forrest. I can't remember where the underscore is, but if you look up my name, it'll come up. That's where I kind of post the announcements and like the projects and stuff. So that's probably the best place to find me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, Ella, and congratulations on all the cool stuff you have going on. Retrograde is the EP, and it's out now.
Thank you so much.